Hey there, everyone, and welcome back to Utility Sports. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the Houston Rockets, giving a quick offseason preview for this roster, this organization, this franchise, and thinking about what Rafael Stone might look to do this offseason. He's got 3 first-round picks, got a few other assets as well. He's got some interesting players on this roster who maybe don't fit the long-term mold. So there's a few different things I'd love to talk about. Love to get your guys' insight. Before we jump into that, though, subscribe if you are new to Utility Sports. We'd love to have you be a part of it here at Utility Sports. If you're a Rockets fan, you're going to want to be subscribed here. We do a lot of NBA draft content, a whole bunch of different stuff. So don't miss out on that. Also, turn on the notification bell if you haven't already. And again, hit that like button. It means so much to us knowing that you guys are supporting and enjoying the stuff we're posting. And we'd love to have you continue to do so, like you guys have been absolutely killing it as of late. So now let's look at some of the key players under contract on this roster going into next season. Of course, Christian Wood was the big-time addition last offseason. I love that move. That was one of the most impressive moves from Rafael Stone's tenure so far as GM. I thought that was a very, very nice addition onto this roster. Kevin Porter Jr., another very good addition. Looking at the quick returns that he's given already to Rafael Stone as a build-around piece potentially, I really like that addition onto this roster as well. Jae'Sean Tate was a nice little find from the NBL. Kenyon Martin Jr. looked like a nice, solid second-round pick. Then you got guys like John Wall, Daniil House, and Eric Gordon, who are kind of from that Daryl Morey tenure, who maybe don't fit long-term. John Wall, of course, not necessarily from that tenure, but House and Gordon more so. And this is an interesting scenario here because I don't know what John Wall's future looks like in Houston. He's got on a massive contract. He's not going to have trade value around the league. I doubt Houston would want to pay in picks to trade him somewhere to get off the contract at this current point. So you're looking at maybe a buyout situation to monitor. Daniil House, I think, is going to be a valuable 3-and-D wing around the league that they're going to probably end up shipping for a few seconds, maybe even a low-end first to a team that's really needy for some help on the perimeter. And Eric Gordon got a pretty solid payday, looking at about $16 million a year still for the next couple of years. He could be an interesting name to watch too if the team feels like he could be a big improvement for them. I think the Rockets would definitely be willing to ship him. If he's healthy and playing well, his value will go up. So we'll see exactly what that looks like for the future. Rockets are in a little bit of a state of flux right now. So Rockets fans, let me know first, before we jump further into this video, who you want to land in the NBA draft. That's the key thing about this video. And I would like to hear your guys' thoughts. So comment that right now before we jump into who I think would be some potential targets, who I think would be good fits, and so on. I'd love to hear your guys' input as well. So now looking at some key cap holds on this roster, Kelly Olynyk, who played very, very well after coming to Houston, is a key cap hold. He's his salary cap number would be $19.2 million though, which is massive. Now, one positive of retaining those rights on him would be the fact that it does give Rafael Stone a little bit of cap flexibility. They could move him in a sign and trade deal maybe, or move him to a team that wants to get off of a contract. You can match that $19.2 million with a different player. And then at that point, the team receiving Olynyk could renounce the rights there, open up a ton of money for themselves. And in return, the Rockets would probably receive a couple picks, maybe a few seconds, maybe a low end first, so on, something like that. And then also the key cap holds here for Houston, nearly $9 million for pick number 2. That's whoever number 2 overall will probably be making next year. Pick 23 is about $2.3 million, and pick 24 is about $2.25 million. So there's a little bit of range there for them to really improve this roster through the NBA draft. That's going to be a key thing to watch. And they have some really key needs here as well. You're looking at a team that badly needs some more shot creation potential, especially off the perimeter wing positions. You need some playmaking help for sure, especially when John Wall's not in the game. They do have DJ Augustine on that roster, but again, I expect him to probably get moved at some point and shipped to a contender. Front court help is an obvious need here when Christian Wood went out for those 20 games. I believe they went 0-20, which is obviously something that they need to address. They need some rim protection help. Of course, that'll be a big part of finding another front court piece. And then they need some shooting to space the floor around Jae'Sean Tate, around Kevin Porter Jr., around John Wall if he's still around. They've got interesting pieces right now, but they think that they could use a little bit more talent on the perimeter in terms of being able to put the ball actually in the cup. So what are some of their ways to improve? Well, financially, they're kind of strapped. When you have John Wall making as much as he has, Eric Gordon making as much as he has, you're not going to be able to hit in free agency. They're going to be able to use their mid-level exception. That's going to be around $9 million. Maybe you get a nice mid-level player there, but again, not really a real way to improve this roster to making them close to a playoff team by any means in free agency. Free agency is going to be kind of out of the window for the Houston Rockets. They don't really have ways to really open up cap space. Like I was talking about John Wall, you're not going to be able to trade him. So at this point, free agency is kind of out of the picture here for the Houston Rockets. But the draft is going to be a spot where they can maybe stay put, take a few shots with their 3 first-round picks, and really try and improve this roster that way. Or they could be aggressive and move up, maybe picks 23 and 24, get packaged together. So let's look at some good draft fits. If they stay put with where they're at, Jalen Green and Evan Mobley are the 2 obvious guys to look at pick number 2. Assuming Cade Cunningham goes first overall to the Detroit Pistons, you've got Jalen Green there, who is a very, very enticing player. Can create his own shot off the dribble. Kind of checks a lot of those boxes for the needs that the Houston Rockets have. Has real shot creation potential, can play make for others. I think he's underrated in that area. Extremely athletic, good bouncy player, jumps out of the gym, does a lot of things well. I think has some defensive upside as well. Pretty solid size at 6'5". And I think he'd be a good fit next to Kevin Porter Jr. as well. He can function off the ball when KPJ has it, or he can be the on-ball guard. Kevin Porter Jr. is going to have to adjust to playing off the ball a little bit himself. But I think at the end of the day, Jalen Green would be a phenomenal fit. And Evan Mobley checks all the boxes for the big man position. Gives you a lot of front court versatility. Can really protect the rim. Averaged almost 3 blocks a game for the USC Trojans this past year. I think that those 2 guys are definitely the option A and option B for the Rockets at pick number 2. I'm interested to see who they go with. So let me know at pick 2 who you think they'll take. I'm opting towards Jalen Green. I think that's the direction that they're going to go, but I'm interested to see who they take. And then picks 23 and 24, I think that there's some real quality role players that could fill some good needs for this Rockets team. Trey Murphy III, 6'8" wing, good 3-and-D player, can cut off the ball fairly well. He's a junior, so he's NBA ready. He's going to come in and really just improve this roster, kind of touch up the fringe parts of the roster. Nehemiah Queta, if they end up going with Jalen Green, I love his fit as a big man. You see him here. He's massive, good athlete, gets off the floor quick, gets off the floor even quicker for his second jump, surprisingly. Very, very good at timing shot blocking opportunities. Does a lot of things really well that you're looking for a glue guy as a big man. I think he'd be phenomenal coming off the bench early in his career. Kind of reminds me of Clint Capella in a lot of ways, and I think moving forward, you could see Queta being a very nice piece for them. And then Chris Duarte, too, out of Oregon, 6'6" guard. Athletic, can shoot the 3 ball, and really can defend on that end of the floor. Does a lot of things very, very well. Quick hands, very quick feet, moves his feet very well side to side. Is able to use his body to cut off drives. I think he's going to be a physical defender and someone who's going to be very valuable around the NBA. This would be a good starting point for the Rockets to grab 3 of these 5 guys here on the screen. At this point, it gives you a good amount of versatility and optionality. So now, what are some good draft fits if they were to move up? Maybe if you package 23 and 24, you could jump up somewhere between picks 14 and 18. That'll be an interesting spot to see because you got the Thunder picking in there twice. You've got the Warriors in there at 14. You've got at 15 the Wizards who'd maybe be interested in moving down. And of course the Grizzlies at 17 who'd probably be really interested in moving down if you were to give them 2 first-round picks. Also, the Rockets have some second-round picks as well, so they can make a couple different packages that are enticing to move up if they really wanted a guy. For example, Usman Garuba would be a very nice fit, I think, onto this Rockets team. Very versatile defender, can guard the 2 through 4 immediately coming into the NBA. He's 6'8", good athleticism. Isaiah Jackson, an elite shot blocker for the University of Kentucky. And this is assuming, of course, they would go with Jalen Green, then they would move back up to get a Garuba, Jackson, or Kai Jones, kind of fill out their front court a little bit. But if they did go Evan Mobley, Trey Mann would be a phenomenal option between that 14 to 18 range for them. Gives you another shot creator, can play the point guard, can play off the ball as well as a spot-up guy, does a lot of things very, very well as an on-ball guard, nice playmaker. I think he would be a nice grab for this Rockets roster if they went with Evan Mobley, second overall. I'd love to hear who you guys think would be a good draft fit if they package 23 and 24 together to move up in the draft. So what does a potential roster heading into the 2021-2022 season look like? Possibly point guard John Wall. I've got question marks there. I don't know if he'll be around. Maybe they don't even buy him out, but maybe he's just not a part of team activities. Maybe you just don't have him around and just really focus on the development of young guys. You've got Jalen Green, though, at this point, who I think is going to be the pick. Kevin Porter Jr. at the 3. That's a little clunky there. You're playing KPJ at the 3. Not necessarily what you want to do, but at the same time, you're looking a lot more talented in the starting lineup. Jae'Sean Tate playing the 4. I know he's a little undersized to play the 4, but I like his talent. I like what how he performed. Got all rookie first team this past year. I thought he was a very good addition from the NBL the year prior, and he definitely has panned out very well for this Rockets roster. Christian Wood, who I love, playing the center position. Then you got Eric Gordon, who maybe is on his way out. Kenyon Martin Jr. as your 7th man shows some really good signs this past year. Athletic, free, can jump out of the gym, and also has some defensive upside, and offensively was further along in his development than I expected him to be once he made his debut. At 8, you have DJ Augustine, who again I think could very well be on his way out. And then your 9th and 10th guy would be picks 23 and 24. And of course, if Gordon and DJ Augustine found their way out, it's a much bigger role for those 2 young guys that you take with those picks. At this point, I think Rafael Stone has a few different decisions that he needs to make. First of all, the most important one being pick number 2. What do we do at that spot? Is it Jalen Green? Is it Evan Mobley? Will they shock the world and go with someone like Jalen Suggs? I'd be surprised if they did. But at the end of the day, that is not out of the question. I'd love to know who you guys think is going to be the pick there. Also, he's got to make some decisions about 23-24. Does he want to just stay put, or does he want to try and aggressively move those picks up, find some nice young talent there a little bit earlier in the draft, and really bring in a guy who can maybe develop into a starter earlier than later? I think that would be an interesting thing to follow as well. In Houston, this is going to be a long-term rebuild. Don't get me wrong here, Rockets fans. You've got some nice young pieces, especially if you grab Jalen Green or Evan Mobley. I love what you got to start with, but it's still going to take a lot of work. And I think that there's going to be a little bit of patience needed when talking about this Rockets roster, just because you have some issues, the salary cap, you're strapped. Daryl Morey kind of left this in a bad situation, I'm not going to lie, especially once James Harden walked out. That was just not a good situation to be in as a first-year head coach for Steven Silas. You're looking at a first-year GM as Rafael Stone, and I think Rafael Stone realistically did mess up the James Harden trade a little bit. Now, I know he got the draft pick assets, that's important, but he didn't get any of the young players. He didn't get Jarrett Allen, Karis LeVert. I mean, Jarrett Allen would be a big-time difference maker on this roster if he had him at this point. It's a little head-scratching to me. You're not going to get a guy as good as Jarrett Allen at pick 24, in my opinion, but I guess we'll see exactly how everything pans out. I'm looking forward to seeing it all play out. Houston Rockets fans, let me know in the comments who you think could be some good grabs at 23, 24, and also pick 2. Would mean a lot. Thanks again, guys, so much for the support. Hopefully you're enjoying the videos, and we'll catch you in the very next one.